Welcome to Reddit Tea Time. Let me start by apologizing for my voice. I have a cold. Now back to the story. I need some guidance in regards to how to navigate the relationship with my mom. She raised me as a single mom, worked hard, basically put her dreams and wishes and health into me. Now I've moved abroad, which she took very hard but finally accepted. I used to visit her all the time when I was back in my home country, and I'm visiting her and flying back and forth as much as I can now. A few months ago, I started a relationship with a girl. We spent quite some time together and were happy. As a result, maybe my daily phone calls with my mom were not as frequent or long. But that's where my mom started to get weird. She started saying often that I'm just forgetting her in favor of some random chick. When I announced our first holiday together in an exotic country, my mom called my girlfriend an insane bimbo, and it's her fault we're going there because I would never come up with this, and if something bad happens, God help my girlfriend because it's not safe. I'm supposed to be flying back home for a week next week, but she's super unhappy because I used to stay longer when I was single. I would stay 2 or 3 weeks in her house, which is way too long personally. She again blames my girlfriend for this, that I'm forgetting my mom for some random chick out of dozens to come. When I finally snapped and said that I cannot be holding on to my mother and I need to cultivate my personal relationships with other people, my tone maybe was not best. She snapped, dropped the phone call, and announced that I'm way out of line recently and I'm not even noticing that. I do get sassy when I'm annoyed, and maybe I said some hurtful things, but it's just the whole dynamic of our relationship that really puts me on edge and makes me invalidated. I don't even want to go home at this point. It's just so much recently. But if I wouldn't go, she would see it basically as a declaration of cutting ties. I'm at a loss. What do I do? Responding to one question, OP says his mom does have friends. No other children. OP says their family is always hell-bent on just cutting ties whenever there's a disagreement or toxic situations. But my mom really chooses to spend her free time alone because she has a very highly sociable job, so she gets tired of people, or so she says. But then she's always missing me and never wants to let me go. She said that her door would never be able to stay shut because she has a lot of people in her life to spend time with and visit her. She never does that because she chooses not to. Look, you're almost 30. It's time to move on from this unhealthy dynamic with your mom. She's acting like you're cheating on her and throwing fits and getting jealous. Tell mom I am no longer coming home because of the tantrum. It's not okay to call my girlfriend any names. Continue pushing me away with this behavior and we just won't see each other anymore. I'm sorry you're having a hard time, but I like my life and I'm happy to visit you if you're able to be respectful of me and my choices. This sounds like you have a really enmeshed dynamic with your mom. You can Google what that is to see if it resonates. She's acting like she's your wife or something, like she's in competition with your girlfriend, and that's really creepy when you think about it. I'd advise you to get a therapist to help you manage this because it's really complex to set good boundaries in a situation like this. If you want to keep your relationship, you're going to have to do something about your mom. I suggest you say what I ended up saying to my own mother-in-law after she attacked my husband and then cried to me that I changed him. Your goal as a mother is to raise a compassionate adult who finds love and creates stable relationships and still remembers their roots. You've achieved that. Instead of being proud, you're clinging to wanting things to be the same. It's not sustainable. Life is full of chapters. You'll always be my mom and one of the absolute most important people to me. In this new chapter, we may not see each other as much, but it'll always be important to me to make time for you. It may be less, it may be shorter, it doesn't mean my love for you is any less. I need you to reflect on this and think about what this next chapter will look like for us. My wife and I have a toddler. Our extended families live thousands of miles from us. I had a very happy childhood. My parents were very loving to me as a kid and present. However, I don't have very fond memories of my teenage years. I was very shy and felt very alone. Had very good grades but few friends, would never talk to girls, etc. Today I realize my parents are conservative, have money, worry a lot about the image others have of them, hold their emotions very close to themselves, and have negative opinions about anything or anyone that's unlike them. Unfortunately, that made it very hard for me to have any meaningful conversations with them. They always made it look like our lives were perfect and never showed any vulnerability to me. As a result, I was ashamed of my own struggles, and the few times I did try sharing something with them, I was met with judgment. Things got better when I started college. I studied with people from different places and walks of life, and that opened my mind. Contrary to my parents, I was always attracted by the different. My best friends were alter egos of myself. I used to be shy, so I'd hang out with outspoken people, for example. After college, my wanderlust got me a job in a city thousands of miles away. I achieved professional success and eventually met my now wife. Predictably, the woman I got married to is the polar opposite of what my parents are. My grandparents were wealthy, hers struggled. My parents keep their friends at arm's length. She's an outspoken feminist, a liberal who will tell her whole life to a stranger. My parents never approved of this relationship, never liked ex-girlfriends either. While this never held me back, it always made me sad. Now, with a kid, the situation got worse. Both my wife and I think it's important for our kid to spend time with the grandparents, but every trip back is stressful. They do show a lot of love for our kid, but after a while it seems like they can't fake anymore and become condescending to my wife in general and to both of us when it comes to parenting advice. They're sarcastic about our ideas on how to raise kids, for example, trying to make our kid eat non-processed food. They seem to be more proud of my cousin's diet with French fries and Coke since he was 2 years old. One side of me thinks they resent not having as much influence over me as they do over my sibling, who still lives a few hours' drive away. I've called out their behavior or unsolicited feedback a few times, and they always apologize to me but never to my wife. But each of these fights has left cracks in our relationship, and now I see them as the grandparents of my kid as opposed to my parents. I resent them for not showing up for me when I was a teenager, and for not recognizing how much of a good job my wife and I did raising a kid amidst the pandemic. On the other hand, the nostalgia of my early childhood sometimes makes me feel guilty for feeling like that. What should I do next? Be the parent to your kids that they deserve and the husband to your wife that she deserves. Your parents are not owed a relationship with your children if they can't be polite to you and your wife. Stop seeing them in person if it's irritating, or only see them for as long as they can be nice. Let me tell you where this is going to end. Your children love their mother way more than they love their grandparents. At some point, probably around 10 to 12 years old, they're going to realize that your parents are mistreating her, and those kids are going to be angry at your parents. There isn't going to be anything you can do to fix this. It doesn't matter that you had a pleasant single digits childhood. Your nostalgia is getting in the way of your now. Your now is your parents are a huge problem and causing negative experiences for both you and your wife. Are you trying to suggest that's acceptable as long as your kids have a pleasant experience? If your wife or you are having a bad time or your parents are speaking unkindly to her, kids sense that stuff. Your toddler may not yet have the language or experience to make sense of it, but they feel it. This is not of benefit to your kid. It's not worth it for the pleasant childhood you're imagining your kids will experience. Kids remember the way their parents get treated. In fact, kids learn it's okay to be treated like that. Don't put your wife in this position. Stand up for your wife. Stand up for yourself. What your parents are doing isn't okay, and you absolutely should not be traveling this long distance just to be mistreated. It's time for a conversation with your parents where you put your foot down. You also need to make it clear that you will not be returning for visits if their behavior and unkindness continue. That until they respect you and your choices, you won't be subjecting your family to their cruelty. You never indicated it, but why exactly do you and your wife feel it's important for your kids to have time with their grandparents? Is it something specific or just a general belief about family connection? Because at the moment, it certainly doesn't seem worth the cost. My wife and I have a 1-year-old son, and early on we decided we didn't really want him around my parents. My parents smoke pot, take pills recreationally, and obviously drink. My mom had a breakdown over it because she loves the baby. We told her if they were able to get it together, they could see the baby again. Apparently my dad said no, so my mom filed for divorce. Since then, my dad won't speak to me. He's telling people it's my son's fault that they were getting divorced, not that he's doing drugs. Tonight I saw him and he flicked his cigarette at me when I tried talking to him. He's telling people it's my son's fault that they are getting divorced. Absolutely everyone who hears it's my 1-year-old grandson's fault that my wife is divorcing me will be able to read between the lines about who is really at fault in this situation. They were both offered the same choice. The dad just chose his addictions over his marriage and a relationship with his grandchild. He's not getting divorced because of the baby or even because his wife is choosing a relationship with her grandchild. He's getting divorced because drugs are more important to him than anything else. Former addict here. Proud of you for setting healthy boundaries. Consequences help to bring about change. This is the best thing for your child, you, your mom, and dad. He may come around if the pain gets great enough. He may not. Awesome that your mom is making the effort. She's going to need a ton of support. Encourage her to get professional help or find a recovery community because it won't be easy. Expect some bumps in the road. I had quite a few relapses before it stuck, but it eventually did, and I could not be healthier or happier. Best of luck to your family. That's addiction talking. I hope he can get clean. Until then, I would stay away. You and your family don't need that kind of bitterness in your life.